right. Welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. But today on the show, it's actually one of our monthly trailer episodes where we're going to take a look at a bunch of new movies, just the trailers for them, and take a little guess at a couple of movies each that might have inspired them. Joining me is Jason Harris from Awesome Movie Year, as he does every month for these trailer roundups. And then we'll see. Maybe we'll end up covering some of these movies in full episodes as we get into June. But before we get to that conversation, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together. We've got a lot of new episodes on the way, and if you get subscribed, you'll find out about them as they come. You could also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod and join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And another thing before we get to the episode, I got to go into some listener puzzle pieces. Every month on these trailer roundups, I also tack on sort of a mailbag kind of situation, get into some puzzle pieces from the audience, see what some people sent in, and I got some to read off right now. So first of all, for the Fall Guy, we got a few from Josie DeMarco. She mentioned Hot Rod from 2007, which I've mentioned this before on the show. I have still never seen that movie, and I know I would love it. I think it's like right up my alley, but I just have never gotten a chance to watch it. Also, Crocodile Dundee, which I love that. That's great. In a World from 2013. That's a really good movie, and that is a great pick. I'm surprised I didn't think about that one. State and Maine from 2000, and The Mexican, the Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts movie. That is also a really great pick for that. Lots of great puzzle pieces from Josie for the Fall Guy. Then for Love Lies Bleeding, George Hanna-Wilson wrote in with Killer Joe from 2011, The Devil's Advocate from 1997, and Alien, of course, the original 1979. Lots of interesting pieces there. That is a very interesting movie that, to be honest, like I've only grown to love it more and more since we've recorded the episode, and a lot of those pieces there definitely feel like they would fit in there, and I gotta watch that movie again because it might actually raise up in my end of the year listings. We'll see. It might end up somewhere. Great movie. Then we also we know friend of the show, Joe Black, tends to write in with a bunch of puzzle pieces. He wrote in for, I think, every movie we covered in the month of May. So I'm just going to kind of speed round through these. I'm not going to comment on the pieces themselves because it's just too much. But thank you, Joe, for sending all this in. So first of all, I saw the TV Glow. He mentioned Jack and Diane, The Matrix, and Surf Ninjas. The Last Stop in Yuma County, he mentioned Boogie Nights, Legion, and Blues Brothers. For Love Lies Bleeding, he mentioned Jack and Diane, Killer Joe again, and True Romance. For The Fall Guy, he mentioned Ernst Lubitsch and Michael Curtis films, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and Hail Caesar. Civil War, he mentioned Salvador, Don't Look Up. That's a good one. Not a good movie, but a good pick for this episode. And Children of Men. Then for Furiosa, which I know Joe really wanted to be at that live show, he mentioned Battleship Potemkin, Intolerance, and Cabaret. I don't know that movie. I'm going to have to look up what that is. But thank you, as always, Joe, for sending in lots of puzzle pieces. Really appreciate it. And with that said, let's get to our conversation about some movies coming in June. Jason Harris is back with us for another month of trailers, and I'm trying to get it in, Jason. As you know, I'm drowning over here.
Dave, are you drowning in hope for the summer movie season? Because no one else seems to be at this point.
Yeah, somebody needs to throw us all a life jacket. I feel like, bad times. But
it just says, but every prognosticator is like, there's no right answer. Maybe this is a totally different podcast, but they're like, oh, well, this is what happens when you make more original movies. And it's like last year we were all complaining that there weren't enough original movies. And then it's like, oh, well, and then Barbie, which is kind of an original, and Oppenheimer were the big ones. And it's just like, we need to go back to IP, but we got drowned out by, ridiculous Marvel movies. So there's no right answer. It's just going to be an adapting moving thing. And right now, nothing is working, it seems like.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we could easily go for an hour on that because I do have lots and lots of thoughts. But yeah, there's no one answer and there's no one thing that's going to fix anything. And we're just going to keep having this conversation for a long time. So let's talk about movies instead of how movies are dying. And quickly, we'll run down last month's list, see what we actually got to, and then we'll get into our June movies. So starting off last month, we had The Idea of You, the new Michael Showalter directed film with Anne Hathaway. Did you watch this one?
I didn't get to it. Did you watch it?
I've done this before on the show where I half watched it as my dad was watching it at Wax Track. So I was in the room as the movie was playing out. So I kind of saw most of it, but yeah, it was fun, for what I saw. And the not the main lead, but like the second male lead is now He-Man. It was just announced today. So there's something.
I mean, the big news here is that you didn't dedicate a day to Michael Showalter, your boy. So,
I know.
Who I think was when I went to see the state reunion. I guess he was doing this, but he should have done the state reunion because that was the best.
This was a big hit, by the way, even though I don't know how you quantify a hit on streaming, but this movie is like one of the success stories of the summer so far.
Hooray.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, one of the flops of the summer is The Fall Guy, which I did see. I did an episode on. It's fun. It's really not that great. It's one of those ones where it's like everyone's like, how did everything go wrong? But at the same time, it's like, it was really just okay.
Yeah, but, I think that's where it all went wrong, is that the expectations were totally outsized. The budget was totally outsized. Could you have made this movie for half the amount and then it would have been a success, right? And then
right.
This whole idea of like, oh, this is, we heard it coming out of like CinemaCon and everything. Oh, this is the movie that's going to save original summer movies. It's like, let's not put that pressure on a movie that we've seen 8 different versions of before.
Absolutely. Next up is I Saw the TV Glow, which I also saw and also did an episode on. A really good movie, and I'm very happy to be able to say that because I really did not like Jane Schoenbrun's previous film, but this one I thought was great.
Yeah, I'm excited. This will be, maybe I'll do a double feature when this comes out on streaming in 2 weeks or whenever, 3 weeks, and I'll watch this and the World's Fair together or something. Absolutely.
Next up was Unfrosted, the Jerry Seinfeld movie that everybody hates, but I don't know. I feel like people are just putting their hate of Seinfeld at the current moment onto this movie. It's probably not that bad.
I didn't see it. Seinfeld, look, you got to love Jerry Seinfeld if you're a comedian. He did so much for the world of comedy. He's just not making any friends right now with anything that he's saying, is he? So
no, he's not at all. Next up was Tarot, which kind of just came and went. It didn't. I don't even know if it might have actually been a secret success for all I know. It really just made no noise.
I don't think it was a secret success, Dave. I think.
Well, you never know with horror.
Plain sometimes failure.
Yeah, probably. We Grown Now is up next, which I honestly don't even know if this movie ended up coming out in wide release. I didn't hear a single thing about it.
And this was a big festival movie, right?
Yeah, but just nothing on actual release. So maybe it'll find its home once it makes it to streaming. Next up was Force of Nature, The Dry 2, which I know you were looking forward to. It actually did open here. I did not get a chance to see it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch this when it comes to streaming,
sure.
and hopefully won't confuse it with Forces of Nature, Dave. Forces of Nature, the Sandra Bullock and Ben Affleck movie. Tarot. Yeah. Hey, you're right, Dave. Tarot had a budget of $8 million and made $37.2 million at the box office. That's
not too bad.
You keep the budget down, you get a respectable return. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's always a good bet on horror movies, even if they don't look good. Next up was Pool Man, which I was really looking forward to, and I enjoyed. It's not, spoiler alert for our end of the year top 10, it's not going to be number 2 on my top 10 list like Fool's Paradise last year, but it was fun though, and I think that the hate this movie got is just completely unfounded. Almost
like the love that Fool's Paradise got from you.
Well,
completely unfounded.
Maybe fair. We'll see. Next up was If, another of these big giant flops of the year so far. This John Krasinski film looked terrible though, and I don't think anybody really liked it. I mean, I guess some people had fun with it, as you know, the kid-friendly movie it was.
I heard it's not all that kid friendly. I mean, supposedly that's one of the issues is like who it's a kids movie, but it's like serious, but it's not serious. But the big thing that people keep saying is how little sense it makes, and you know how angry I get at stuff like that. I
Oh
cannot
yeah,
stand that in movies, which we're going to be talking about in one of these that you're coming up with that I
nice,
watched.
nice. Actually, that would be kind of fun to make you do a full episode on that. I could
I
picture you just your head just flames coming out of it,
I
steam
just
like
hate the laziness of like, hey, we're going to ignore complete logic just because we need to move a plot along or get to a
yeah.
joke. And I'll explain that in just 1 minute here when we get to this one movie that did it
Right
this
on.
month.
Well, next up was Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse film. Again, this one just kind of came and went, did not do much, and got pretty bad reviews too. And I think the biggest thing with this movie is it reminded everybody to go watch the documentary.
Which I need to go do. But what I
Hmm.
heard is it's just like a whitewashing of all her problems, and
Yeah,
they just gloss over like any of the drug stuff. It was just a, like, hey, let's do a PR job to, say it was whatever, if it was through the family or whoever, hey, no big deal. It's all
yeah,
good. Too
yeah,
bad. But it's nobody's fault. So,
yeah. It's basically where the genre is right now, so it makes sense that they'd go that direction,
this
even
is
though
so
it's
bad, this
awful.
genre. We say it every month, but
Yeah, we sure do. Next up was Thelma the Unicorn, an animated movie that this is another one of those ones that probably just came and went. I didn't hear anything about this
yeah,
once it
wasn't
came
this
out.
was this a Netflix original or like,
Yes.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
this thing got buried. I didn't even, Netflix, you would think a kids movie. I don't
Yep.
know if I saw one, tile for it or anything even this
No,
month.
not at all. Not at all. Next up was Babes, which I still really want to see. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I think it's doing okay. It
It's the
certainly
worst
didn't.
movie I've seen this year.
Really, you saw it and you didn't like it?
Yeah, and this is one of those, this is the first scene in the movie. This is what I'm talking about, right? Where they do something. It's very like Apatow light and everything plays to like a joke instead of like the logic of something, right? So the first
Hmm.
scene, Alana Glazer and the co-star, who is the co-star's quite good. Like I'd like to see her do more stuff. Sorry, I forgot her name. Anyway, she's the co-star's 9 months pregnant, right? And
Hmm.
she's already had one kid. So she's been through the labor process before. The opening
Uh-huh.
scene, they go to a movie theater, they sit down, and the co-star is like, "Oh, my seat is wet. Let's move." Gee, if you're 9 months pregnant, why would your seat be wet? So they move to another seat. And she goes, "This seat is wet too. What is going on in the movie theater? Are all the seats wet?" And it's like, dude, you can't even use the excuse that she's never been through labor. Like she doesn't know
Right.
what her water breaking is. Like I'm a guy who will never give birth to anything, but I would say, hey, if something's wet and you're 9 months pregnant, maybe your water's breaking. Like this is so frustrating that this could get through as like an opening scene to me. There's a lot of talent involved. I just thought this movie was terrible.
Uh, that's disappointing. It sounds really rough. But next up was Sight, which I don't really even remember what that one was. Do you?
No.
No, we'll move on. Atlas, the J Lo sci-fi movie. All the critics are absolutely hating it. I did not watch it. I've seen a lot of people though, like just your average everyday Netflix watcher, like saying that they really liked it though. So this might be one of those, the divides between critics and
I
regular
really hope
audiences.
not. I mean, when we watched this trailer, it was just like,
It
how
looks
is this a
terrible.
thing? Yeah. So I think people are smarter than this, but that's probably one of my problems in life is giving people credit.
Yeah,
So
you
for
should never
things
do
for
that.
like, hey, you're a capable human being. Oh, that's my bad. I believed in you.
Yeah, never do that. And last up from last month was Ezra, which I believe is not out yet. I think it's still this coming weekend at the time of this recording. So not much to say on that one, but it looked pretty good though.
Yeah. Well, maybe a better movie would be uh, the music biopic of Better Than Ezra. So
Mm,
it's
okay.
good. It's
Yeah.
good. Hey,
Mm,
you did a live show on Furiosa. Furiosa rocks. I don't know. Anyone who's
yeah.
got a problem with Furiosa, move what?
Yeah.
What do you want from a Mad Max movie?
You just said that your biggest problem is giving people credit, and like people are idiots. That's what it comes down to. I don't know how they could not like that movie.
Furiosa's dope. Like
Yeah.
that. I mean, you got your huge war rig, kind of chase scene in the middle. You got those. He always comes up with new ways for like war boys and like enemies to attack, like with the parachutes and everything. Great setting. Like it's really good.
Yeah.
I like Furiosa a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's get to our list for June, starting off with a Netflix movie. It's called Under Paris. It will be out on June 5th. And I just wanted to mention this on the YouTube trailer. Somebody in the comments called it, or they said it should have been called Shark de Triomphe.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is about a shark that ends up in France somehow. It's from the director of Gangs of London. And it looks like it might actually deliver on like, the ridiculous shark mayhem.
Yeah, we've seen a billion of these in the last few years. Scarlett, my daughter, watched this trailer with me and she said it's like a violent Finding Nemo. So I thought that was a nice puzzle piece. But
Nice.
I mean, dude, we probably have the same ones, right? You can do you can do Jaws or the Meg, right, for your shark movie. You can do any Godzilla movie for the attacking of a city. And one thing I went with that was off base was John Woo's The Killer, where there's a big assassination in the middle of like a celebration in the city, and it causes like havoc, and it's on the water. That's why I picked that one.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, you can go with all of the obvious shark ones. I of course put Jaws just because you have to. But the other one that I was going to put was Deep Blue Sea, because these sharks are like dodging bullets in the trailer, and so they must have some kind of super strength or agility or smartness or something. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, it looks like it could be fun. We will see. Next up, also on Netflix, although it really should be in theaters from what everybody says, June 7th, it's Hitman, the new Richard Linklater film starring Glenn Powell as a fake hitman who ends up falling in love with the woman who has hired him for a gig. And it looks fun, and everybody loved this out of the the festivals, and I can't wait to see it.
And why isn't it in theaters? Because
Netflix just waved money around, and
but anyone could have waved money around and didn't,
anybody else
right?
could have.
So,
Yeah, the studios were stupid on this one. Absolutely.
yeah,
We should
so
blame the studios. Yes.
I agree. I mean, Netflix is buying a movie. Why wouldn't you buy a movie, right? And obviously, we saw what Anyone But You did for them. I think which we know was a hit as well. Okay, yeah, like my favorite movie last year was The Killer, which had a good sense of humor about a hitman thing. Um, I hope this does a much better version of like what we keep seeing, which is this is almost like the reverse. Like, what? My boyfriend slash girlfriend's a spy, right? Like this is
Hmm.
the reverse of that. So, any ghosted type thing. But I also thought of like Linkletter, kind of murdery comedic stuff, and it brought me back to Bernie, which is a great underrated Richard
Yeah.
Linkletter movie.
Absolutely. I put Bernie on the list too. That is exciting to think that he's back into that kind of mode. I'd love to see it. So we will see when this comes out. I also put the TV show that I'm sure you're a fan of, Barry, as far as someone who is a hitman, but he, kind of isn't. This is kind of a reverse of that, but because he's not a hitman, but he's acting like he is. And then I was just trying to think of a comedic hitman movie. I went with Lucky Number 7, but there's others you can go with from throughout the years. So
Like The
I don't even
Killer.
really remember that movie. Was that movie good?
I never saw that one.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
I saw it back in the
and
day.
here's something that you'll not believe. I've never watched an episode of Barry.
You've never watched Barry?
I should. I gotta get
Wow.
to it. Yeah.
That seems like one of those movies you would just be like, you gotta watch
A
Barry.
TV
It's the
show,
best
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I gotta
Wow.
watch that show, but I haven't done it yet,
Surprising.
so.
Surprising. Well, next up, it is The Watchers on June 14th in theaters. This is the directorial debut from Ashana Night Shyamalan, M. Night's daughter. And
But she
Dakota
just goes by like A.E. Shine, right? Or something
I think
like
so,
that.
something like
Yeah.
that, yeah. Dakota Fanning stars as a girl who's stuck in this kind of game from these monsters or something in this like structure out in the woods. It looks really weird. It does not like kind of tell you what's going on here. It's kind of a tough one to do because of just how close it plays with the secrets of what's going on.
Well, I'd much rather have that than giving me the whole movie in 2
Yeah.
minutes. Like, this intrigued me. I had seen the commercials and they didn't do much for me, but the actual trailer, I was like, cool, this looks fun. So I didn't take it as a game. I took it as like she ends up in whatever remote part of the woods where everything always goes wrong when you get to that
Sure.
in horror movies. You know, you got your Texas Chainsaw Massacres and your cabins in the woods right there, right? Or
Hmm.
Knock at the Cabin, even for our Shyamalan heads there. What would you call those? Shyamalanians
Shit. There you go. That works. A lot of
or
letters, but it works.
Knights of Shyamalan? So
Nice. I like it.
anyway, so then there's like this door, and they're like, you have 5 seconds to get in here, or else the bad things are going to happen, right? So I took it as like, hey, whatever, if it's a portal or a secret entry, but they had to protect themselves from whatever was out there, kind of like a quiet place type thing.
Yeah.
Annihilation was another one that I put down for this. There's a lot of these three body problems. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm down to see this one. I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't get crushed and ruin my hopes of like, hey, another good, Shyamalan style movie.
Yeah, for
How about
sure.
we
For
call them the
sure.
Shyamalama Ding Dongs?
That is something I'm sure somebody has said on the internet many times before, but
Sorry, Dave.
I was thinking of the Blair Witch Project at first, just because of the woods and being stuck and there's just no way to get out. But then that started making me think, you brought up Knock at the Cabin. It started making me think of The Beach That Makes You Old from M. Night Shyamalan's Old. So I think that fits in here too. So, I mean, she's definitely, going to that M. Night style thing, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm definitely looking forward to that
Yeah,
one.
we got the Cronenbergs, the Shyamalans. There's a lot of things going on here. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Next up is Inside Out 2 from Pixar, of course. This will be in theaters June 14th. Um, Pixar has not had a hit in a while, but hopefully this will be something. We'll see. It obviously updates Inside Out with new emotions, basically. I believe it's anxiety is like a big one here. Embarrassment, I think, was one of them. Um, but whatever it is, there's a bunch of new emotions to kind of
wait a second.
personify.
Wasn't Elemental was a big hit that no one thought was a hit last year?
You're
So I'm going to
right. You're
disagree
right.
with you.
You're right. Elemental did actually, even though everybody thought it was a flop at first, then it just had these insane legs and it ended up being a hit after many weeks. But
Right.
yeah.
And then, so yeah, Lightyear sucked, but right. But look at the three before that. That was Soul, Luca, and Turning Red. Those are all good movies
Well, they're
that
great movies. The pandemic
yeah,
ruined them. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't want to like, put the narrative out that they're on a downswing. Although you
Sure.
could say that with Lightyear and Elemental, because
Mm.
Elemental wasn't very good, but it was a big hit. This looks fun. The first In and Out is amazing, right? So I kind of went to the place of, I think we probably mentioned this before, the TV show Herman's Head with all the people talking inside of the head. What
Yeah.
a classic right there. And
Oh
then
yeah.
any of the like kind of eighth grade, Perks of Being a Wallflower, Diary of a Teenage Girl, like any of those, like figuring out your life as a teenager while you're dealing with hormones, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I think you're going to like my last piece, Dave. So we had all those characters in the beginning, and now in this one, they have to like double the size of all these characters. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what's a movie that had a ton of like big time characters and then double them up? I went with The Expendables 2.
Yes. Hell yeah. Why not? I love it. I love that. I will go with, I mean, we brought up Inside Out as a puzzle piece on the Orion in the Dark episode, but this does kind of feel like it's kind of all coming back around in a way. So I feel like, especially with anxiety being one of these emotions now, I mean, what is a Charlie Kaufman movie if not anxiety? So throw that one on there. And then just Toy Story, as far as, having all the characters come back, and then you were just saying with the Expendables, adding in all these new ones. That's kind of what we get with Toy Story each time out. So, yeah, hopefully it's good. Next up will be Tuesday on June 14th in theaters. This is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She stars as the mom of a sick daughter who gets visited by a talking parrot. who's trying to convince her that it's time to say goodbye to her daughter. It's an A24 film. It looks like a big tearjerker. It looks a little obvious, if I'm being honest, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be something.
Yeah, I mean, dude, is she the most underrated actor around right now? She can
She's
pretty
up
much do
there.
anything, right?
Yeah.
So she makes everything feel so natural. I'm really happy that she's uh, out there shining. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought of, because the daughter is like needs full-time care and everything, right? So, mommy dead and dearest, our friend Ruby, what's her name? Who just got out of jail and got divorced like 3 minutes later. So,
Yeah. I'm drawing a
whatever.
blank on her name, but I know who you
Yeah.
mean, though. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a huge, internet celebrity now, so, and then that movie Run kinda mimicked that, but this really felt like, where the like a, interesting version of Where the Wild Things Are, right? About
Oh,
finding
yeah.
yourself and letting go, Peter Pan almost growing up, so that's kinda where I was at with this one.
I like that. That's a really good one to include here. I was thinking of A Monster Calls, the movie about a kid who his grief with his parents dying. Liam Neeson shows up as a giant talking tree and helps him deal with all of that grief. And then also, it's too new to really be a puzzle piece, but we just had that movie Spaceman with Adam Sandler, who is dealing with his space loneliness. And Paul Dano shows up as a giant talking spider, and so that feels like it's kind of in line with this movie. So we'll see.
Is
It could be something.
A24 still just like a hipster brand? Because whether they are or not, thank goodness for them putting out stuff that you're like, well, at least this is different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A24 and Neon keeping it going, which, by the way, Neon just won their fifth Palme d'Or in a year in a row,
Yeah,
which
with the
is wild.
Sean
Yeah.
Baker film that was partially filmed here in Vegas. So,
Yep. Can't wait to see that.
yeah.
Next up is this one I'm sure you'll have thoughts on. It's called I Used to Be Funny. It will be out June 18th, although I couldn't figure out exactly where it's going to be out, if it's just a VOD thing or what. But anyway, Rachel Sennott stars as a stand-up comedian who becomes a nanny, and then the girl she's watching disappears. I think that's what happens in this. It was a little kind of weird to me, but definitely the stand-up aspect. I figured you'd have some things to chime in
Yeah,
with here.
so I don't think the girl disappeared. I just thought like an enemy of hers disappeared. So
Okay, is that what it is?
that's what I thought. So it's funny. In like 2012, I was out pitching a stand-up movie called "And That's My Time," and I said like, that when you pitch it, I was like, I just think in the next 3 years you're going to see a proliferation of stand-up based dramas and comedies, and like,
Mhm.
before that there was stuff like Punching the Clown, which is an amazing movie, but they were so few and far between, and now it feels like there's a new stand-up movie every month, and I don't think we need all of them. That said, I hope this is good. I mean, Rachel Sennett, obviously good comedic actress. Uh, I don't know if she's as good as Jenny Slate, Obvious Child. That's one of the best stand-up
Yeah.
movies of the last few years. So we'll have to see. This really felt a little like Cha Cha Real Smooth to me, the Cooper Raiff kind of Arrested Development film, and
Yeah.
the kind of watching of or nannying or babysitting. And then the last thing is when I'm talking about this idea of like, hey, I'm, whatever she is, millennial, Gen Z, whatever, and like I don't know my purpose, and someone went missing, and I'm gonna find them. That was the whole TV show of Search Party, which was a great show.
Yeah, which I'm sure I would love that. I love everybody involved with Search Party. I've never watched it though. But those first two pieces, those are definitely great ones to include here. I was also thinking, Sleepwalk with Me, the Mike Birbiglia film, as far as that whole balancing career and the stress and all that stuff. And aside from movies, we have stuff like Louie and all of these shows that were about comedians and that were kind of centerpieces for comedians to have their own show. So you could kind of go with a lot of those different kinds of shows as well. But yeah, hopefully it'll be something good. Next up, delayed over and over and over again, but it seems like it's really coming out this time. It's the Bike
December
Riders.
1st. Even if you watch the trailer, it says coming out December.
Does it
1st.
really? That's
Yeah.
freaking ridiculous. Finally, June 21st, finally. Jeff Nichols' new film. It's the Bikeriders. It stars Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Michael Shannon, Jodie Comer. Jodie Comer is a journalist who's kind of getting herself ingratiated into this biker gang. and all the goings on between this gang and all their infighting and all this stuff that goes on. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we like Jeff Nichols a lot. I feel like I know it said inspired by true events. Was there a podcast? I feel like I listened to this podcast of like,
Maybe.
we started as a small biker gang, then we ran drugs throughout the entire South type thing,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, we're excited. I'm not sure what accent Tom Hardy is using.
He's so good.
Is he? Okay. So, um, but yeah, I mean, we covered the Wild One, the Brando, maybe the original biker movie of kind of biker gangs from 1953. We covered it, an awesome movie here. This definitely has that type of feel of like that kind of, ragtag familial group there. Easy Rider, I think you put in here. And then just structurally, it felt a lot like Goodfellas to me, where
Yeah.
you have like that kind of like, oh, I just wanted him to change his life around, but I was attracted to it, that type of thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pumped up, bro. Let's go.
Absolutely. And I had the same stuff that you had, honestly. Easy Rider, Goodfellas, The Wild Ones. But yeah, it looks great. And, I feel like we haven't had a movie like that Goodfellas formula in a while. So it's an
I'm
interesting mix. So
I'm excited to see it and work on that Tom Hardy impression for
hell
you.
yeah. Hell yeah. I can't wait to hear it. Next up, Yorgos Lanthimos is back already with another movie he shot at the same time as Poor Things. It's called Kinds of Kindness. It'll be in theaters June 21st. And actually, at the time that we're recording, a more plot-heavy trailer just came out. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
Me neither.
So really, I don't have a lot to go on because the trailer really gives nothing away, the one that I think we both watched.
Yeah, I'm almost, this is going to be a surprise that I'm saying this, but I wish they held this to award season. It would have been nice to just have that kind of break and something to look forward to. Because I
Yeah.
mean, it's like all his, it's his like company of players, right, and everything like that. So
I have a feeling, and this kind of speaks to, I didn't really come up with pieces only because I know it's like a whole anthology thing and we don't really know much about the plot, but it does seem like from everything I've read about it that he's going back to his like weirder earlier work, stuff like Alps and Dogtooth, which probably, as much as everybody loves him right now, probably won't get picked up. Even if there's raves all over the place for this, it might be just too out there.
So yeah, Poor Things wasn't weird enough. That's what we're going with now. So
Well, I mean, it's a different kind of weird. Let's put it that way.
I didn't know it was an anthology. I did feel like it was, because we've only seen like the 1 minute kind of teaser on it. I did feel
Yeah.
like it was definitely like a lot, like an ensemble, a lot of characters interweaving, like kind of like and kind of like a Shaggy Stoner type thing, right? So
Hmm.
it had like that kind of Paul Thomas Anderson Inherent Vice feel to me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like The Good Guys or Lebowski, something where there's all these different elements and a legal case or a legal element to it. But that's what I got. But again, like you said, we don't really know much yet.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait though. Next up is Thelma, which will also be in theaters June 21st. This one is very straight. There's not much to say about it. June Squibb is an old lady who's going to kick some ass, and it looks awesome.
Have you ever wanted to just give a movie a hug? This looks so wonderful. I just want to curl up with this movie and watch this movie while hugging this movie. So I can't wait for this. This is going to be amazing. We have a different old person adventure movie every month. I like the genre when it's done well. June Squibb looks amazing. Richard Roundtree, Shaft is the co-star. Come on, man.
Hell yeah.
This is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited for this one, maybe more than any other this month. Similar setup to The Beekeeper, which we both liked from earlier this year,
Yeah.
right? Where, it's some scam who's prying on older people to send them money. And then she gets a gun. The Old Man and the Gun, the Robert Redford movie based on that cool documentary about that 90-year-old person who keeps robbing banks. Let's go, Thelma.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I am surprised you didn't bring up a movie you bring up on every episode of these trailers.
John Wick?
Nobody. Same thing, basically. But yeah, Bob Odenkirk, just some guy. And then also Going in Style as far as old people,
Right. Any of your old people adventure type things. That's fun.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Can't wait. Next up is A Quiet Place Day 1, which will be in theaters June 28th. I believe this is it's supposed to be like a prequel that takes place right before the first movie, like
Okay.
immediately before.
I get it. So this is the beginning of the apocalypse type thing.
Yes,
So, and is that
exactly.
Lupita Nyong'o? And is
Yes,
she the star of this?
yes.
I mean, I'm somewhat interested in. Look, we know she's a great actress. She's become kind of like really heavily into the horror genre, and I think she's capable of many other things. So I kind of want more from her. Not that it's whatever, you take what you can get type thing, right? So,
I agree.
but
And another thing that I have a feeling you're going to say the same thing about this. This is the director of Pig,
which
and this
we
is
love.
we
Yeah.
loved, but this is what he's doing next. Is
Right. Well, this is, I guess, is his Marvel movie, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly,
I mean, I'm
exactly.
guessing, look, this is the classic pick your city, invade it. Humanity tries to survive. I, Robot, Independence Day, really War of the Worlds was more than any of them, and I'll save Cloverfield for you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I thought of Cloverfield, of course, as far as cities getting destroyed go. But Independence Day, you already mentioned it, but that was my other one. Just seeing that city destruction. I mean, that's what we come for. And I did not like the second A Quiet Place. I loved the first one. I don't know. I'm split on whether this is going to be anything, but we shall see. Next up, June 28th, the first part of this epic Kevin Costner
Yeah.
two-part huge Western, which I think is actually doing 3 parts if it goes well, but 2 parts for now anyway. Horizon, an American Saga. Um, I mean, it looks great. I just don't know if I want to go to the theater to watch like 6 hours of Western, but
I know it got trashed, but but I'm kind of rooting for it now because he put so much of his own money into it, and
yeah, I love
because
that.
everyone's hating on it. And I don't know, maybe there's a good reason to, right? But speaking of westerns that people hated on, I definitely had Heaven's Gate in there,
Sure.
So, I mean, this is really anything Manifest Destiny based. There Will Be Blood was my other pick. But look, if nothing else, I mean, let's not forget Kevin Costner won an Oscar for Best Picture and Director for Dances with Wolves. He knows how to make westerns, so like,
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't suck, but like, let's give him a chance.
Absolutely. Yeah. I even if it's not my favorite genre, like I'm a big fan of people, doing these big passion projects that are just big swings and, they might fail spectacularly. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I also threw Gone with the Wind in there as far as this just giant epic. And then also I put Apocalypto, just the idea that all these characters are like everything is about to change, but we're seeing all this stuff that's just happening in this one little story before everything changes. So,
Dances with Wolves, beat Goodfellas.
yep,
The
yep.
Academy always gets it right, don't they?
Unbelievable. Next up is Daddio, which will be in theaters June 28th with Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. He's a cabbie and he has Dakota Johnson's character as his passenger. And I believe the whole thing is just a conversation that takes place in the car.
That's what it looks like, and
Yeah.
I mean, some of the quotes they use are like, "It'll take you in a direction you never saw coming," and I'm like, "Well, you've intrigued me because this is slight and quaint and quiet." And I mean, Sean Penn's great. Other than the Lost Daughter, I don't really. There's nothing Dakota Johnson's done where I've been like, "Oh man, that's so great," and everything. But they say she's really good in this. So I'm excited. Reminded me a little of the Sofia Coppola, Bill Murray, Rashida Jones on the Rocks, where they're just driving around New York City, hanging
Mm,
out. Beautiful
yeah.
looking movie. I know I bring this movie up a lot, Locke, the Tom Hardy
Yeah.
driving around movie, but there are only so many of them. And then I felt like this kind of mismatch adventure in the city brought me a little towards Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting one. And yeah, I really like On the Rocks as a piece here. I didn't think of that, but good one there. I had Locke on my list as well. And then even though the genre, it's not an action movie, or at least we don't think so, I put Collateral just, the
Yeah,
that kind of setup at least. So
Michael Mann's the best, bro.
he sure is. He sure
Yeah.
is. But yeah, I don't know. I think this looks like it could be something really interesting. So I'm definitely in for this one. So and then our last one for the month is Fancy Dance, which will be on Apple TV Plus on June 28th. Lily Gladstone stars in this. Also, Shea Wiggum is in there. And It looks like a small story kind of about this woman who's trying to find her sister, but the trailer like really like kind of plays it up as like this big, like a big, like a dramatic epic kind of, although it does feel like it all takes place in the one location on the reservation for the most part. But I don't know. I've heard really good things about this one.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story, Dave. So I go up to Cordillera, this great film festival, every year, and they have a real focus on indigenous artists. And this kind of artist I met, Ty Defoe, who does a lot of directing and everything. He he hired me to workshop a play that this female indigenous woman wrote. She had studied with this like really famous or well-known professor at like North Dakota State in indigenous studies, and she's an indigenous woman, and it was about a woman who goes missing off of a reservation, which sadly is all too common, right?
Sure.
And I just thought we were reading this thing on on Zoom. It was like a 3-day full workshop, but he hired me to play like this 20-year-old guy, which I'm obviously older than, but I think the energy was what he was looking for. But so I didn't even read it before we get there. I'm like, oh, we're going to read it. We'll feel it out. The first scene, I was listening to the actors going, and I was like, oh, God damn it. They're so good. I better like get my game ready right now. Like they were so good. Every single person involved with this, which was great. I mean, it made me like really, be on my, do whatever I could to stay up at my level or that
For
level.
sure.
So that was kind of not a piece, obviously, but a fun story. So
yeah.
I mean, look, there was a whole season of Up and Vanished, a great podcast with Payne Lindsay about a woman who goes missing off of a reservation in the Northwest. I think Wind River is a good one. I mean, Lily Gladstone's currently playing a cop on Under the Bridge, which has been a good show. And then I might have mentioned Smoke Signals on a recent episode, which is a very famous Native American film where two guys go to kind of track down one of their fathers or their father's belongings after he died. And it's got some elements of that. I'm looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good. Wind River was one that I had as well. And then I was also thinking of If Beale Street Could Talk, just because of just the police showing up and just being completely useless and not being able to help whatsoever. I was trying to think of a good piece for that. So
I want to say, I think Lily Gladstone has a real chance to, we say Shea Wiggum like every time we see him. It's like, Lily Gladstone has that ability to be like, oh, she's just so rock solid in everything. Like, I'm excited for that pairing. I think that she's like, I'm just so excited to see what she does over the next 5 years or so.
Oh, I agree, including a Charlie Kaufman movie, but we'll save that for next year, I guess. But that's the last one for the month, although I will be doing a live show at Maya Cinemas on June 6th with Corey Kilgore, Kevin Martin, and Chris Mayashiro on Bad Boys Ride or Die. So everybody, you can enter to win tickets right now for that. Jason, what did you think of the trailer for that? Did you watch that trailer?
Can we stop with this franchise already? Like bad old men at this point. I don't know. I'm just over this whole. I don't need it anymore. Move on. Let's go.
The third one was actually good. Did you see the third one?
Was that Bad Boys for Life?
Yeah, which they should have called this one since it's the fourth one, but
Yeah. No, yeah. Right. Yeah. Or Bad Boys Forever.
Yeah, that would have worked too. So
no, I don't care about this. And honestly, like, I know, like, it's a different time, but I still was just so turned off by the Oscar slap. Like, I'm not back on the Will Smith train yet. Like,
gotcha.
It just seemed, it was just so unnecessary,
We'll be talking about that, I'm sure, at the show.
But Dave, you and I both have a lot of love for Martin Lawrence in The Beach Bum. All-time cameo, right?
Captain Whack. My favorite character of the last 10 years, maybe.
So good. And Dave, congrats to you. You're killing the game on these live podcasts. I know you got a bunch of them. So what a cool thing. If you're in Vegas, go to one of Dave's live podcasts.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Is there another movie you want to recommend to our listeners that you've watched recently?
Yeah, Dave, it's one that you have already seen. We did The Wages of Fear for our 1953 season, and you and Josh both got to watch Sorcerer, the William Friedkin remake or adaptation from 1977. Holy cow, is that movie awesome.
Hell yeah. So good.
Yeah.
That's just a dude movie right there.
I mean, it's fun to, I mean, honestly, they're both worth watching. And Wages of Fear does certain things better, and Sorcerer
Right.
does certain things better. But like, dude, those driving scenes in the jungle or wherever they are just so good.
Hell yeah.
That guy, he could make a movie that freaking.
I think so. I think he can. Jason, where can people find you and everything you're up to?
Jason Harris Comedy or Jay Harris Comedy and all the socials. Eat This Comedy. We got more coming this summer, I believe. So that's exciting. Go for Jason on Letterboxd. Awesome movie year, cranking hard in the middle of our 2000 season right now. We've already planned the next 2 to 3 seasons out. So I'm excited for that. And Dave, how do you feel? This is your season, the 2000 season. You picked this one.
Yeah, there's been some good stuff. I'm very happy I picked this year. Although there's been a couple of movies that are just kind of like, not the best. But that's all part of the season of awesome movie year. And I'm just so happy we got to do Battlefield Earth. So that just makes it all worthwhile.
Hey, I'll tell you what did it for me. We just did You Can Count on Me, and it was finally an excuse to go watch Margaret, the Kenneth Lonergan movie that just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It's so great, man. It's not from the year 2000, but that's part of the fun is we get to watch all these other things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Jason, as always, great to have you here, and we'll get you back soon.
Oh, thanks.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation about some of the movies coming out in June of 2024. Thank you to Jason Harris for joining me on that one. And thanks to all of you for listening. If you're enjoying piecing it together, make sure you are subscribed. We've got so many episodes on the way and don't want you to miss any of them. So subscribe wherever it is that you're listening. Hit that follow button. Hit that allow downloads. But there's some buttons that you could hit that make sure you get the episodes. Hit them all, and then maybe even hit that 5-star button. Give us a little rating and review. That would be very helpful. But just keep on listening. You could also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And don't forget, we do have a Patreon where you can find advanced episodes of Piecing It Together, including video versions of some episodes, as well as bonus content from Awesome Movie Year, from my music career, and lots of other great stuff. Check it out. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. I appreciate you being out there listening, but if you want to support the show in that way, it is also very much appreciated. So with that said, let's close this out with a piece of music like I always do. And I'm going to go with a piece from my 24 for 2024 series. I've been releasing a new single on the first and third Friday of every month of 2024. And this, I believe, is the next one. It's probably out this week. If it's not this week, it's next week. But this is called Coming Down Hard. It's more of a kind of a ballad, like a big dramatic epic ballad kind of track. So I hope you enjoy this track. It'll be out on the 24 for 2024 playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. Like I said, any day now. Enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.